Hey, Snuck TVZ. Sneaking around, TVZing all the time, crazy sauce. So, from the description I got in the email, it sounded like this is going to be an economy problem. I feel like I'm echoing inside my head. Very weird. But we're going to see, because I haven't seen the game yet, obviously. So, looks like racks, racks, 4 racks. Really weird number of racks to get. Some depots, 25 workers, bunker. Nothing that's able to do any pressure. And I find that if you're gonna open multiple racks, you have to do 2 racks pressure. Because if you just sit back and make infantry and get infantry upgrades, it can go very badly for you. Zerg will just make a bajillion workers and stuff. Basically every good TVZ build either opens with 2 racks pressure or opens with Hellion pressure. And with the Queen range buff, Hellion pressure is not really as scary. Basically, in the past, just by making 4 Hellions and showing them to the Zerg, you could convince the Zerg that he needed spine crawlers and like an extra Queen and maybe some Zerglings. And so that was good enough. You didn't even have to know how to use them. You just sent them over and said, hey, I have Hellions. And he'd be like, okay, I'm getting spines. But nowadays, even if you show him Hellions, Zergs will sometimes not react like that, so it can be bad. Anyway, at 9 minutes, you've got 40 workers, which is crazy good. You're way ahead of the Zerg on economy right now. The Zerg took a quick third, and because you don't have any Hellions, you don't see it. You can't prevent it. Not that you would be able to prevent it anyway, but you could at least see that it was going up and know that it was there. It looks like at 10 minutes you are going to have Blue Flame started, Combat Shield starting. How are your upgrades going? Very poorly. You don't have the armor yet, and +2 armor is just starting now. So this can be bad. This can be bad. We'll see. Your supply blocked. 49 workers. You were doing really good on workers a second ago, but with the supply block, bad thing. So now you're fully saturated on 2 bases. Let's see if they're spread evenly. They are not. So you have enough workers to be fully saturated down here, but you're missing 7 workers. So that's a problem. You should have a $2,400 income with 55 workers on 2 bases, and you don't quite. But that's, you didn't. It's not a big mistake. It's a tiny itty bitty baby mistake. So now you're making the 3rd command center. You've got combat shields finished. You're making your 1st starport now. You're making Hellions 1 at a time. You accidentally pulled SCVs with your attack. This is going to be really bad. I hope that's an accident, because there's no reason to pull SCVs ever in a TVZ. Zerg, Banelings, and Fungal Growth just rip. Oh, wow. Look at that. The Hellion's stuck, and everyone's stuck behind it. Rip SCVs to shreds. So the only time you would ever want to pull SCVs is against Broodlords, or if you're doing like a massive Thor push. And even with a massive Thor push, you'd only want to pull like 5 workers, not a bajillion. So this is really bad. You're cutting into your economy a lot, and these workers are not going to help you at all. You don't have anything for them to repair. And then the positioning of this army is so terrible. You're on creep, completely bunched up. This is like, he could kill this with 2 for 6 Banelings right now. He could kill your entire $4,000 army with 6 Banelings. And he comes in and surrounds you and pops some Banelings and just rips you to shreds. You take a ton of damage without doing any damage back. So yeah, I don't know what you were doing. This build that you did was not a valid build. You attacked with 1-1 and 2-2 not really on the way. You got Blue Flame even though you only had 2 Hellions. You didn't get a starport before the push. You just kind of made a bunch of Marines and suicided them. That was really ridiculous. And pulling workers is a big mistake. Never pull workers in TVZ, just at all. Don't do it. This has 4 guys on it. And you should have lowered these depots when you pushed out. There's no reason for your guys to get stuck behind that Hellion. And when you moved from right here to right here, he killed you, right? So what you want to do is find a place that's safe to move to. Like take both watchtowers before you push out, and then push to that safe spot and do a patrol spread at that safe spot. So you guys all automatically spread out. And then take about a third of your army and move it forward, and then patrol spread it there. And then take another third of your army and move it just a little past that and patrol spread it there. And take another third and move it and patrol spread it there. You never want your guys to be walking around in a giant ball once you're visible to the Zerg. Like, because if he catches you all bunched up like that, the banelings pop and you just die massively. So if you hadn't pulled workers, even with that fight going really poorly for you, you'd still be doing pretty well. But because you did pull workers, you're kind of screwed, kind of doomed for no reason. And now you're massively oversaturated on your main and massively undersaturated on your natural. Saturation balance is important. Again, to handle the saturation balance problem better, I like to have all my CCs rallied to the same place, because then you can always, if you find that something's undersaturated, you can go to that place where you know you're going to be oversaturated and grab the right number of workers and move it to that undersaturated place. Whereas if you have your guys one rallied here and one rallied here, then they're both going to oversaturate evenly, which is kind of good but kind of bad, because now whenever you want to transfer workers, you have to transfer them from two places to a third place. And if one of them loses all of his drones, then you resaturate unevenly, and that's why you're unevenly saturated right now, is because the guys you make out of your primary command center are just going to your main mineral line, and they shouldn't be. So I mean, at this point, there's nothing you can really do to do very well in this game. You killed off all your workers. You didn't secure your third during the push. Your push was made up of just pure marine with no medevacs and no tanks and nothing else. And now you're making Vikings. Never make Vikings until you see corruptors. You don't need a single Viking until you've seen corruptors. Vikings don't do well against mutas. Again, you're basically going pure marine, but you're doing it off of 4 racks. You need, at 12 minutes, you need to go up to 7 racks if you're going to be doing a marine build. And this gas is piling up. That's terrible. If you got, basically in TVZ, the Zerg has ground map control unless you rip it from his corpse. So you can't really take extra bases. So you can't afford not to mine gas at the bases you have. Like in TVT, for example, if you want to say I'm going pure marine, then you can just take 2 gas geysers and not take the gas geysers on your natural, and just get your third slightly earlier, and then put the guys that would have been mining gas at your natural on your third's minerals. But you can't do that in TVZ because you can't just take a third. He'll run up and kill it and run away before you can even react. You really kind of are forced to take the gas everywhere. And if you're going to get all that gas, you got to know what you're doing with it. You need to be massing medevacs, tons of medevacs, or be massing medevacs in Banshees, or massing medevacs in Thors and Banshees, or getting double upgrades and lots of medevacs, all that kind of stuff. Spending this gas is really important. You've been supply blocked for a really long time now. You're queued up to max on all your buildings. Your macro is just going to crap. But even though you're doing a horrible job at macro right now, your economy is close to the Zergs when it shouldn't be. I mean, when he won that battle, he should have saturated this base and taken these bases, and taken this base and knocked down the rocks to that base and blah blah blah. And he should have just been out. Losing that first battle really badly just gives the Zerg permission to take as many bases he wants and put as many workers there as he wants. And he just chose to make 55 workers. Most Zergs will choose 90, or at least 75. So you're getting lucky here that you're even in this game at all, and you might get the false impression. Like, you might watch the rest of this game and get the false impression that the battles that happened at 20 minutes or at 25 minutes or 30 minutes were relevant, but they're not. They're not relevant because this game ended when you made that first push. That first push was so silly that there was no point in looking at the rest of the game from then on. So he's going Mutiling Baneling with creep spread, and it looks like you guys are even because you both have 200 unit space, but when you look at the army size, he has 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 plus 2, 2, and you have 6.5 plus 2, 2. So 12,000 versus 6,000. He has literally double your army. So when I said that from the description in your game, of the game in the email, when I said that sounds like you got way behind on economy, yeah, you got way behind on economy. The only way someone can dominate you with Mutiling Baneling in a straight up fight like this, when you have a pre-spread, is if he has so unbelievably larger of an army than you that even though you trade pretty efficiently, he still gets to win. Like, look at that. His attack, you did as much damage as he did, and then he won at the end. Why did he win at the end? The reason he won at the end is because he had double your army size. Double. I mean, you guys had the same army supply, but he had double the army size. And size is like the money that it costs to build that army. So don't feel bad about this fight. You focused a lot on this fight. You're like, man, I don't know what I can do against Mutiling Baneling. I had upgraded infantry, and, you know, I spread my guys out well. What was the problem? The problem was not this. The game was over before this happened. The problem was that you let him get double your army size, and the reason that he was able to get double your army size is because the first battle didn't have medevacs, and the first battle didn't have 2/2, and the first battle didn't have Hellions. It didn't have anything that was capable of doing damage to Lings and Banelings. Pure Marine doesn't do well against Ling Baneling. You need medevacs, and you need to be spread out really well, and you can test all this on the unit map tester. I mean, if you just take his army of basically just Banelings and Lings, put them on creep, and attack them with a bunch of Marines without spreading the Marines out, you're going to lose that fight 100% of the time, even if he completely messes it up. Also, I feel like you were, yeah, don't pull SCVs. It's always good to say that again. But I feel like in this fight right here, I feel like your guys might have still been moving. Yeah, see, they didn't stop and start shooting as soon as the Banelings showed up. Also, these guys are left behind, and these guys are left behind. So yeah. It's possible that even at this point he already had a big enough army to make yours laughable. I don't know. Let's look. So you're pushing out. It's 28 against 29. You're dead even on army. That's fine. Now he sees your push, and he's going to do nothing but make army and make army and make army and try to catch up. And now you actually move over with your push, and he's got 54 against 32. So when you pushed out, you had an even army size. But when the fight happened, you were down 2,000. And this is a very common symptom of TVZ, is because, like I said, Zergs get to choose whether to spend their money on army or something else. And if you show him that you're about to have a fight, he's going to spend every penny he can on every larva he can, turning into army and morphing all of his Lings into Banelings, and his army size is just going to suddenly jump up by 2,000. So it's really important to try to get these towers before you push out, and when you push out, to really, you know, push aggressively out and form up in an aggressive location and have him run into you rather than you running into him and stuff like that. Also, of your $32,000 army, you didn't have all of it there. You have a bunch of idle SCVs here, a Hellion and some Marines here, and 4 Marines in here. And you're not landing this CC. The second your Marines go further away from your base than right here, you want to be landing and morphing that CC. Because this is the best chance you're going to get, right, is when you're distracting him by making a push. And just no one mining. Yeah. So I want to watch upgrades and see how long it took you to realize that you'd finished an upgrade and start the next one. Again, game sound. It needs to be loud enough so that you hear her say upgrade complete and go and start the next upgrade. Because this is a long time. This has been minutes and minutes, and you're not starting the next upgrade. Still not starting the next upgrade. And look how high your gas is. There's no excuse for not getting upgrades when your gas is that high. When we were talking about the TVP build, originally, when we were playing games against each other, I was saying you time all of your builds by the gas. You love Marines. Everyone loves Marines, and it's easy to make them, and it's easy to spend your minerals on those Marines. So first priority has to be the gas, because spending your minerals is like autopilot. You can spend your minerals in your sleep. You just hold down the Marine button. So you really always got to be thinking about how high is my gas, what can I spend it on in order to make it 0 again. So look how long, okay, you finally started. It's like 4.5 minutes between when 2-2 finished and when you started 3-3. So during this game in which you made double engineering bays, you didn't really have much of an upgrade advantage. He's going to finish 2-2 while you're still 2-2, then you're going to be 3-3, and then he's going to be 3-3 a minute and a half later or something. So yeah. Pay more attention to your gas, get it spent, don't pull SCVs, get your third to morph as you're pushing across the field with your army. Use the patrol split so that your army is never standing still like this. Like even right now, it's just standing in a ball. If you're looking over here to make another starport or something, and your army's standing in a ball like this and he comes and hits it, you're just going to lose your whole army because it wasn't pre-spread. So these guys are pre-spread, and that's nice. But these guys aren't. And the more units you get, the harder it becomes to pre-spread them, and that's when patrol split comes in nice and handy. Also, this bunker doesn't really need to have dudes in it. This should not have a gap between these. I feel like you misbuilt this, and you should have corrected the situation as soon as you saw his lings run in by just making a depot there or something. So yeah. This was just generally bad. You didn't get gas fast enough, you didn't spend gas on important things fast enough, and you didn't spend your gas throughout the game. And splitting is a huge deal. So you either have to get good at splitting and engaging only with a good split, or you need to stop relying on Marines for your builds. I would recommend number 2 because it's so much easier than number 1. But if you're going to stick with Marines, learn how to never have them clumped up when the engagement happens. So they're reasonably well spread in this engagement, but this right here is a big clump. This is a big clump. I don't know. See if they... So you know that the fight's coming. You're trying to split your dudes apart as much as you can, but this is still, not great. So yeah, the second fight was a lot better than the first fight. The first fight you were moving and he caught you with banelings and you just lost all your crap. In the second fight, at least you had a reasonable split, and he just had way too much army for you to win no matter what you did. Also, as soon as you see more than 7 mutas, I want to see a ton more turrets. You have no turrets, and he is a terrible player for not exploiting this fact. But look at this. There's no turrets protecting your base at all. So everyone is going to either make mutas or make infestors at around 10 or 11 minutes, and you have to figure out which one he did and then defend against it. If he makes infestors, you want banshees, tons of banshees. And if he makes mutas, you want tons of upgrades and what are they called? Medevacs and turrets and Thors. So, bajam. Also, if he makes mutas, you want Marines. If he makes infestors, you want Marauders. And in both cases, you want a lot more Hellions than this. This was not very many Hellions. Yeah. So there.